just a good old boy.
Today I'm changing teeth. I got this going on right now. Kind of wanted to go over these teeth a little bit. I'm always talking about the pitch of the teeth and how you change them to do different things and whatnot. We are going through this tedder. This tedder here is actually the original Krone that we bought new. The other one we bought used. We did get it at Kane Equipment when it was new. It's probably, I'm gonna say this tedder's, well, there it is. It's 2012, so it's what now it's 2019, so it's 7 years old. Now it's got 7 seasons of hay. Actually 3 of those seasons it was the only tedder we had. We didn't used to have 2, and then we got 2. Right here's something that drives me crazy with these. You've constantly got to tighten these bolts up because these things aren't on these guards and everything. I'm not crazy about this guard set up on these Krones, but it's been a really good tedder overall. I've talked about before some of the issues and some of the reviews I've done. The grease seals that I've talked about, that one there is actually bad. I've got to get one to replace it. I actually have, well, it was in here. I don't know why it wouldn't be in there, because I put it in there and I didn't take it out, so somebody must have got it. Either that or I put it somewhere else. Well, I was going to show you all the seal that goes in it and what it looks like. I actually had a brand new one, but it's dry rotted. It's been a couple years actually since I had to put them in there. For a while I was putting them in just regularly there for a long time, but I mean it was just due, oh here it is, due to use. Here's what they look like. The part number for this is 9360710. This is the seal for the gearboxes for the bottom for these grease seals. Every one of them's been replaced on this tedder at one time, including this one, but they just lay up in there like that, and then there's a little plastic dust cover that goes up again in on the bottom. In these, the dust covers never really go bad unless the whole gearbox assembly was to go out, or something, wire or something gets in there and cuts it, but normally they don't ever have to replace those. So you just get the seal. To get it off, which I'm going to do this later, you should dry these roll pins out. When I get a seal, you dry these roll pins out, take the axle off, pull this clip pin, pull that pin out, slide the axle off, dry the roll pin out, get this piece off. Then after that you take out each one of these bolts on that pan. That whole star will drop off, and then it will expose that seal underneath. And I think there's a lock ring, if I'm not, or a snap ring, if I'm not mistaken, that holds these in. Then you pry it out, slide a new one in, put the dust cover back over it, put the lock ring on. Then you got to put it all back together. It's not too bad of a job, but it's not the easiest job. The biggest hurdle is trying to get that roll pin out and this piece off. That's probably the biggest pain in the rear end with this, getting that thing apart. The actual taking the star off is pretty easy. It's no harder than just pulling a wheel off. But we are putting all new teeth on this tedder. The teeth that was on it, part of them was the original teeth, part of them was new teeth, part of them was teeth that was in between the two, and they're just all different lengths. And when you pull out in the field and you go across it, there's no particular star that makes equal contact, and it's not doing like it should do. But I mean, many seasons and much ground as this tedder here's covered, it's understandable. It's due for a whole new set of teeth. So we bought a whole new set last year sometime for it. I don't even remember exactly when, and I'm just now getting around to putting them on. I intended on doing it through the winter, but I didn't get around to it. So I've already replaced these teeth, that star's teeth, and that one over there. All I like is the last 7 green ones right here. I'm going to show y'all the differences in pitch settings though on these. That just about every tedder now has this adjustment. A lot of people overlook it and don't even know about it, but I'm going to show y'all that just here in a second. Let me grab something and jerk this thing off right quick. This is mostly just going to be a informational video more than it is anything for those that are in the hay business and maybe don't have as much experience as others that's starting out and looking for all the information they can. A lot of people have been in the hay business for years and just now bought a tedder, depending on where you live. But here in the South, we've used them forever because of our humidity. But they're starting to really catch on in other places now. They're a huge help, but these things have multiple adjustments to set them up to the crop you're in now. Used to, they didn't have none of this. It was just plain teeth that were straight, and they were small. They weren't near as big as these. They've come a long way. They're a lot nicer to use now with the hydraulic fold and everything and whatnot. It's definitely made them come a long ways from the old 2 stars, and if you got a 4 star or bigger, they was typically the kind that you had to flip a little thing on the wheels, try to twist the wheels, pull it back by hand. Or if you had a 4 star that stood up, they were smaller. They were nowhere near as big as these, and you had to try to pick the stars up by hand. And it was, of course, for me it was hard because I was a lot younger then, and I'm putting as old as I am now. I was just a kid. It always seemed like those things are really heavy and really hard to get up. But they was way better, the ones that folded up, even then, having to do it by hand. Than the style where you had to fold it back behind you. The Krone, we had a Krone 4 star tedder. That was the old style that swept back behind. You had to twist the wheels every time you went from field to field. If you had a 5-acre field to do, you spent more time folding wheels up and the tedder than you did fluffing. Let me get this through here where it'll hold itself. I'll show you the difference here. Alright, if you'll notice on these, they have 1 notch, 2 notches, and 3 notches. That is actually for your tine tilt. Depending on which notch you put it in, by the shape, if you can tell, see that the 1 is closer to the nut, and then the 3 is the farthest from the nut, and the 2 is in the middle. As you turn these and put them in the slots, it will actually tilt these teeth in each direction. From, pull this bolt back out, from looking like basically straight on, tilted that way, or tilted more aggressive. Let me stick this thing up here. I've been putting them on number 3. I like mine set aggressive. So that's where I've got it as far in the direction to throw it. That's kind of what I've been doing. Let's see. Another thing too is if you've got somebody who doesn't know and they're replacing these teeth, you can end up with these things in all different kinds of settings, and they don't do as good. They won't Ted Hayes good when they're like that. One tooth's trying to throw it far, one tooth's barely grabbing it, and it's just it's not a good setup. This one here actually is probably half of them has not even been where they should be. But the number 2 is basically a tooth that's, you can't hardly tell it. There's not a lot of change in these. Let's see here, one of these. Yep, this one. it'll have probably a little bit of a rake outward. Then the 2 will be straight up and down, and then the 1 will be a little bit this way. The 1 is probably going to be your gentler throwing setting, so that way you don't really grab it. It's not as aggressive. The middle is more of your traditional, and then the tilt ahead is probably going to give you the most throw and lift, I believe. Generally that's the way it works. As far as slinging the hay out, it's going to give you the most pitch to it, and that's the difference in the teeth setting. And then the speed at which the stars turn has a lot to do with the aggressiveness as well. Then you've got your wheel height, does the same thing. The lower the wheel settings are, the lower these tines are to the ground as a whole, and the less pitch you can get into it throwing up. The higher your wheel settings are, see it's got 4 holes. Mine's at the highest. That means that this is as highest it can get off the ground to when it throws the hay. What that does is it picks the whole tedder up higher, and then when you turn the tedder down to where these teeth will make contact with the ground, it pitches the tedder up more, which causes more lift, which helps the hay dry out as well. Getting more lift in the air underneath that hay as it tosses it through the air will help with the drying process. That's the most aggressive setting. You can let these things down really low to the ground in the lowest setting, and you can put the pitch decreased or straight down, and then it won't toss the hay near as violently as it does, or ted it nearly as violently as it does when it's all the way up. It's pitched down and the teeth are pitched out. With fescue, orchard grass, stuff like that, you want to really beat the hay. Leafy crops, you don't want to beat the hay as hard, and that's what the other settings are for, like alfalfa or something like that, or a crop related to that, where you're trying to get those leaves. With stemmier grasses, you don't necessarily want to be gentle. You want to really beat it to help dry it out. It'll break those stalks up more, which helps allow the sap or juices in the grass juice, I guess you could say, and the inside of the stalks to drain on out, so that way it dries out quicker. That's the whole purpose. Same thing goes on with a tine conditioner versus roller conditioner. Roller conditioners are better used for leafier crops, so that way you don't lose your leaves, whereas tine conditioners beat the crops more and break them up. They're easier to pull. Pecan just fell in the back. They're easier to pull going through hay. They break up the stalkier grasses better. It just, to me, I've run both quite a bit, and I prefer, after running both, as far as the entire field goes, or between, not the entire field, between the two of them, for the kind of grass that I'm doing, which is generally orchard grass, fescue, or something related, and we don't do alfalfa or anything, a tine conditioner is actually better for me. It's easier to pull. There's less, I can go, let's say I'm cutting Johnson grass. If I need to cut Johnson grass with a conditioner, it's a lot easier to mow Johnson grass with a tine conditioner than with a roller conditioner, because the roller conditioner will actually plug if you're not careful.